Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for another book review. I have literally just finished this book last night, so the book hangover is real. So this one is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I was given an ARC by the company I work for, QBD Books. I didn't finish it before the release date, very clearly. But yeah, I just finished it week after the release date. There are some emotions. First of all, I love that we've gone back to the era of Tessa and Will. Oh, by the way, also this review is going to be filled with spoilers, but if you haven't read Chain of Gold yet and you're worried that you need to read the other like Shadowhunter books before you can read it, you can read it as the first book that you read. Honestly, there has been like Lady Midnight, I feel like is probably the one book, like the one first book in the series that you probably can't start as your first Cassandra Clare book that you've read, just because like the whole situation with Emma and everything like that. But yeah, if you really want to read Chain of Gold but you haven't yet because you're like, oh, but I haven't read Infernal Devices, I haven't read Mortal Instruments, doesn't matter. Read it, absolutely read it right now, because it will make you want to read every other book that you've heard of from Cassandra Clare, honestly. I myself started rereading Ghosts of the Shadow Market last night after reading this, because it has a lot of like stories from like some of the kids in it from like before this book was set. And when Ghosts of Shadow Market came out, I didn't know enough about these other characters to care about these little like short stories that we were getting with Gem as well. So definitely after this, I'm really like into this other book now. So yeah, just trust me. If you're considering reading it but don't want to read it before other books, you can read it. You can absolutely read it. Like, you're going to find a lot of hints and clues to other series, but you'll be able to catch up on that. Don't stress. But yeah, there are going to be a lot of spoilers throughout this video. So if you haven't read it, go and read it. Or if you're one of those people that just live for the spoilers, enjoy. Okay, so my last first book review that I did was A Darker Shade of Magic, and I structured it very differently to what I've done with this one, because I feel like it was definitely a 5-star read, but I think because I'm more emotionally invested in this book, it's just sort of like I've written up just like a pros and cons list. The cons list is literally 2 points, so but yeah, the rest are definitely pros. One of the pros about this book is that Cassandra Clare has this incredible ability to write an insane amount of like perspectives and still have them completely make sense to the chapter that comes after it, because usually, like, you know, changes perspectives with each chapter. And so for her to be able to give us literally like 10 perspectives in one book and still have it read fluidly and just beautifully, how? Teach me your secrets, tell me how. Like, just, and like, it was like one of the chapters was completely like, it was like literally like a page of just like something had happened, and we haven't touched on it again throughout the whole book, but we needed that information because it explains why someone is a drunk. We'll get to that though, because that's in here. the mini cliffhangers at the end of all of her chapters, bruh, amazing. Just, and like, they don't have to be huge ones, but they just have to be enough to go, just one more chapter. I need, especially in a book this size, I need to have those things that are like, yeah, nah, I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. And especially with the multiple point of views as well, it makes you want to get to that next chapter with that same point of view so you can know what happened next. Lived. Just, anyway, okay. The complex characters. Now, with all of the point of views, you get so many different people's perspectives, and so you find so many there's so many different storylines running at the same time. Like, Cordelia and her family have just moved to London to help, you know, get their face in society because their father's on trial. But then James has also got this other girl coming to London that he has spent every summer with for the last however many years, and he's sort of tortured over that. And then Matthew's got his own thing going on. And then there's these demon attacks, and it's just, and it sounds, when I've been talking to people about what's going on, they're like, oh, that sounds like really messy and like there's just so much going on. But it works. There is not a sentence in this book that doesn't need to be there, you know? Like, there is not one, like, there will just be like one little like glance, and it's like, oh, that's because like in this point of view, this is what he was thinking about. And I just, it's like poetry. I'm not going to get emotional about this. I'm going to do this very critically, but I cannot help but admire how she writes. I can't. Anyway, okay, fangirling a little bit too much. It's fine. Yeah, and that rolls into like the classic Cassandra Clare mini clues throughout every single little thing, like the amount of duck references per rhyme. And see, and that's the thing that like you get those little hints about like ducks, and everyone that's read Infernal Devices is going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you haven't read it before and then you go back and read Infernal Devices, you'll then go, oh, that's what they were talking about in Chain of Gold, because I had no idea what was going on there. But they're tiny little references that make you want to find out what it's about. Find out why Will Herondale has this horrendous fear of ducks. Right? And I also love that James was also bitten when he was a child. That was wonderful. Pretty sure that was mentioned in another book as well somewhere. But yeah, she just lays all of these tiny little things. Like, she must have the biggest like vision board for these books, because she has like a string to everything, and she's like, I'm going to put this quote in here, and it's going to be referenced in here and in here and in here, and it's going to tie up with this. And I'm not going to fangirl over Cassandra Clare, I swear. Okay. Oh yeah. And then, so with a lot of the conflicts that are going on in this book, they sound like completely different conflicts, but she has that way of just tying it all in. Like, all of these strings just point to this one thing that all comes together at the end. Even at the first book, there are still more things that need to be answered about it, but you can see it slowly coming in and tying in, and so good. So there's the demon attacks that are happening out of the blue. It's like, okay, where was this? Like, ages ago. So all of the shadow hunters are all very relaxed and casual, and then all these demon attacks start happening, and then James is trying to find out who his grandfather is, and Grace is coming to town with Tatiana Blackthorn, and like, oh yeah, these are completely different things, and they are not. I know that I've just said them all in the same sentence, so it's like, oh yeah, that, like, this obviously makes so much sense that they're all tied together, but it's like, she literally puts it in like chapters apart, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, Grace is coming. We don't like her, but that's fine. But it's tied to all of these things, and Grace gave him a bracelet, and it's like, okay, she's just trying to, you know, put her claim on him. More true than we think. It's fine. What have we got? Oh, yes. And then Grace's compulsion thing. Like, the bracelet is around. That seems like a really random, like, little thing to put in there, like, with Grace's compulsion, but it's not. And I feel like this is just me just blabbing now, but that's fine. We're gonna get through it. I need to know what's going on with her. I need to know what the whole deal is, because she seems to very genuinely care about her adoptive brother. Oh, well, she's the adoptive sister, but you know. And I need to know, are all of her motives just because of Jesse? Because she clearly has no fond emotions towards Tatiana. Clearly. Another one of the pros that I have is all of the romance drama. Like, I literally, so like, it starts here and it goes all over here. Like, this is literally the romance drama that we have going on in these books. Like, it's so much, and I was like, I'm going to talk about it, and I was like, I'm not going to talk about it, because it's literally, I'm going to be ranting about it the whole time. But just Cassandra Clare's way of writing characters that love characters, and that is it. It doesn't matter if they're a boy, if they're a girl, if they're like, oh, I thought I was straight. Not once, I've never had an author that has written so many gay or lesbian or pansexual characters that never uses any of those words, because it is literally just, they find someone, they are attracted to someone, and that's just the end of the story. I've never had an author that has written it so eloquently that it's just like, yeah, they love artists, so obviously they're going to be attracted to this person. Like, I applaud that writing, those writing skills. I actually had someone message me, and when they saw that I had my copy of Chain of Gold, and they asked me at the end of the book if I thought that Matthew Fairchild was heterosexual. And I was like, okay, look, I can give you my opinion. I was like, but Cassandra Clare doesn't write she doesn't write characters that are set to a very specific sexuality. It's never like, oh, this person was heterosexual, but they realized that they started liking this person. It's never like, it's like, oh, I like those waistcoats. That's interesting. You know, like, it's not, I don't have words on how to describe how she writes her romances, because you don't need this description of, oh, he likes boys and this attractive boy walked in. No, it's just, oh, look at this attractive person. Let's go and find out if they're interesting enough for me to fall in love with. Like, you know, brilliant. Writing gay literature without using the word gay. Prime. Love it. I also have just like some names on my pro list. The Return of Magnus Bane. Thank you, Lord. Whew. The return of, and technically the original introduction of Cortana, the sword that was made by Waylon the Smith, and you also see it in the Dark Artifices. Love that. Love seeing more of a sword character. Love that. Names. James Herondale. thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. He's hopeless, but we love him. Another hopeless but in love with you, Matthew Fairchild. Honestly, just such a tortured, beautiful soul, and it reminds me so much of Will. Just, Tessa went and found him in the opium dens, and then now Matthew is just like always with his little flask, and I'm like, I need you to be healed. I need you to feel better by the end of this series. Please. I also need to know who you murdered. Please. We'll get to that. Whew. Also, so much Will Herondale. So much Will Herondale. If you have read The Infernal Devices and you're like, oh yeah, like it's their kids, I don't really care about their kids, you get so much Will Herondale. So much. And even if when you don't get Will Herondale, you get James Herondale. And you may think, oh yeah, but it's not the same. I know it's not the same, but it kind of is, okay? Just so many books, so many like, oh, look, there's a bookshelf. I'm just going to wander in over here. Just, if you're having prejudice because you don't want to read about their kids, you are wrong. You are wrong and you need to read it. No arguments, honestly. Okay, so another pro is that there are so many questions that need answers. So many. So many. Yeah, again, who did Matthew kill? What? That was that tiny little chapter that we got like one perspective, and it was him with his hands covered in ash, and he said that he had just committed murder, and I was like, who? But I also like that it was just that little chapter because now we know why Matthew is always drunk. I think it was really good because it's just like, you've got Cordelia's father that she just found out that he is just a drunk and that's why he's always sick and blah, blah, blah. So it was good to see that Matthew isn't just one of those mindless drunks that just have a problem. I mean, he does have a problem. He killed someone and now he's numbing it with alcohol all the time. So that's, yeah, interesting. What else? Oh, how is Tatiana planning on bringing back Jesse? Especially after his last breath was used to save James. Just want to know. Oh, also, so at the end of in the last couple of chapters, this is the one I didn't read for a day because I couldn't continue reading it. I was so emotional about it. I was just screeching at all times. Cordelia stood up and said that she had spent the night with James to save him from being accused of burning down the Blackthorn Manor, right? So she was then, in the eyes of the Clave, ruined. A ruined woman, no one will ever want to marry her, blah, blah, blah. And so James, being the beautiful gentleman that he is, said, we're going to get married then. He's like, then you'll be, even after a year, if I can't make you happy, composing myself. If I can't make you happy after a year, then we can be divorced and you'll still be a divorcee with all of your reputation. And I'm just, and it's it's exactly what I wanted, but it's also not the way I wanted it. And I need to know how, and it's blah, 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 blah. I know that a lot of Cassandra Clare's books, yes, I know that it's going to work out, but how? That is the one thing is you have those books that are predictable and it's oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. This is boring, blah, blah, blah. I think I know what's going to happen, but I also need to know all of the torturous things that they're going to go through to get there, right? So James proposed, they had an engagement party, and how is this year of marriage going to work? What's going to happen? Is she going to take off the bracelet? Can she get him to take off the bracelet? Because what is it doing? what is going on, and why does Belial, whatever the hell his name is, why does he need that to possess him? Like, is it like part of the compulsion? Is that something that Belial gave to Grace, like this ability to compel people to do as she wanted? Because she made Matthew kiss her, and he very clearly did not. That was not cool, Grace Blackthorn. Not cool. Consent. And so she could use it against, like, as blackmail against Matthew to James. So it's like, where is it coming from? How did she get it? I also want to know, just like, I like that Lucy is now sort of like in the mix with her at the moment, because she wants to bring Jesse back. Grace wants to bring Jesse back. And so now they're going to be in cahoots. So now I want to see the gritty underbelly of Grace Blackthorn. Thank you very much. Because I need to know more about this person to know why she's doing these things. Like, she clearly, not going to get emotional. It's fine. Okay. So, as you can see, lots of good things about this book. Please pick it up, please. The two cons that I can think of. Wet my whistle. The two cons I can truly, well, I mean, it's only really one, because the other ones are like, I know that it'll come in the next books, but I need to see a more maternal Tessa. At this point, I feel like we're seeing her as like this, because they're like, her kids are teenagers and she looks very similar in age to them. I almost feel like it's like a best friend thing rather than a, like, you know, with Sonna and Cordelia, like there's that bit of that scolding and that, you know, and I get it, like Tessa's a very supportive mother, I understand, but you still see like Will come in and, you know, and rouse on them and give them the stern talks, and so much Will Herondale. But I only really saw that one scene in the graveyard after James was resurrected, that from Lucy's perspective, Tessa ran over to James and was fussing over him. And that was the only real thing that I picked up on that was like that was Tessa's mother moment thing. And I get it, like they explain that her and Will like read them stories and all these other things, but there's none of that motherly scolding, and it's like the tutting, and I want to see more maternal Tessa. I'm seeing a lot of like Will's wife Tessa and Cordelia's confidant, like towards the end there, and you know, like Tessa says, oh, you know, the most interesting women are the ones that are whispered about, and blah blah blah. And it's like, it's more of like a friendly friend thing, and I want to see, it's like, I know she has it in there, I need to see it because I only saw that fussing over the bruises on James in that like last like third of the book. Give me more, please. Oh, the other thing is just that I need more from the point of view of Matthew Fairchild. That's what I need. He is so tortured, and I want to know what's in his brain, and I want to know who he murdered, okay? I want to know who and why also he hasn't told James. Like, has he told James? James hasn't. I need more information, and I want more perspective from Matthew Fairchild. I need it. What else? Oh, yes, very last thing. There was no crazy cliffhanger at the end of this book. It did sort of like taper off. Like there were a lot of like little things, like because there's so many point of views, there were so many different things happening, and there's lots of things that I need to know, so I need the next book, but like Lord of Shadows literally gave us a main character death in the last paragraph. The very last paragraph of that book that we waited 18 months for, we had a main character death. And it's like, I don't want you to kill off a main character at the end of every book. I don't, okay? I'm not that sadistic, but I need something at least on the level of that, if not a little bit lower, of the cliffhanger that we saw in that book. But in saying that, I still need the next book. I need it. Like, my lungs need breath. That is the only thing that I could think of that this book could improve with. So that's my Chain of Gold review. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I did also get the actual edition, the first collector's edition paperback, and I have the hardcover coming next week. No, not next week, next month, something like that. But yeah, it was amazing. If you haven't read any of the Cassandra Clare books yet, you can start with this one. It's probably a very wonderfully written first introduction. It's not a very good introduction to like the Shadowhunter world in total. I always recommend reading City of Bones to anyone at the very start, if you really want like that really original introduction to Shadowhunters. But you'll pick it up if you like a good fantasy YA blah blah blah, then you'll pick it up. Okay, well, I was going to try and cut this video shorter than what I have in the past, but we're still at the half-hour mark. If you're still sticking around, thank you so much for watching. I will be doing book reviews for the rest of this series. I am going on to Crescent City next, so that will be the next book review. So yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Okay, thank you, bye!